Hello everyone and welcome again to today's webinar. I'm your technical host Vance Kernobis, and today we'll be starting in roughly 1 minute or so. Just before we do get started, I do want to do one more final audio check with everyone. So if everyone could please again use the person icon located at the top of your screen, and if you could just raise your hand for me just so I can see that you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, seems like I'm coming in. Thank you very much everyone who is participating. All right, excellent. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few things in our portal here. So as you saw on the left-hand side, that's the attendance pod, so you can see everyone who else is on this call with you. And to the right-hand side, you should also see a chat pod. In the chat pod, you can feel free to type in any questions that you like. There will be a question period at the end of this webinar, which the presenters will be able to answer for you. Just above the chat pod, you should be able to see an area where you can actually download files. So there's two files there. There's Adult Advisor questions, and then there's the actual presentation piece as well, which you can download. So we will be starting relatively soon. The presenters are just hooking up all of their equipment, and they're going to be getting ready to go. So let's give them about 30 seconds or so, then we will get started.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for an exciting webinar. My name is Lacey Smith. I'm the Recreation Programmer and Youth Action Council Facilitator for the Township of Wilmot's Youth Action Council. And today our webinar is about what it takes to be an adult advisor, and it's a youth perspective. So please bear with us. There are 4 youth beside me right now that are going to be popping in and out of the screen as it's their turn to present. Keep in mind that this is something entirely new for them. All 4 of them have presented with me before, but never in a webinar situation. So they may be doing some things. They're trying to look at the screen. We can also see our video on the screen too. So if they're not looking directly at it, they are probably looking at themselves. So to get us started today, we are going to go through an agenda. So we are going to talk about who we are as a youth council, about getting a group going, so getting a Youth Action Council Youth Advisory Committee started, talk about setting meeting expectations, letting youth learn from their mistakes, how to guide youth in the direction that they choose, building rapport through the learning curves with your youth group, and the importance of nurturing the community youth voice as well as educating yourself. As Vance said, we are going to have a spot for questions at the end. One thing I do want to touch on is some of you had submitted questions upon your registration. Those of you that have submitted your question, we have provided some answers over on the right side of your screen. There are 2 files to download, one being the webinar PowerPoint itself, the other one being the answers to those questions. So feel free to download those. We do speak a little bit about it within our presentation, but those specific questions we've provided answers to. So who we are. Youth Action Council is a group of local youth volunteers ages 14 through 19 who offer youth a chance to be involved within our community to create and support our youth voice. So youth will learn and develop leadership skills and provide input into the programs offered to them. So within the Township of Wilmot, a little bit of a background, our Youth Action Council, we're in our 6th year of operation, which is awesome. We're up to 16 members, which is even better. The biggest youth council we have had since our inception, which is great. We have a variety of grade 9 students, variety of ages and grades. Majority, about half of them are grade 9 students, and the other half cover off our grades 10, 11, and 12. So without further ado, our youth are going to come up. They're going to tell you their name first and then get started on with their presentation.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Rath. I'm the Vice Chair of this year's Youth Action Council. I'm just here to kind of talk about the starting a YAC. So it's really important to find the interests that your youth want to see, and if you find those interests, you will have more success because they will want to be involved in whatever you're doing, and it will make it more exciting rather than having somebody tell them what to do. And to be able to have that youth input kind of put this perspective on it that you might not have seen before. And it's for kind of where you host the meetings, it's important to find a space that youth are comfortable in. For our Youth Action Council, we have it in the youth room here at the Wilmot Rec Center. But that can be, you can have it at school, or if you have a youth center or any place that youth feel comfortable coming to and speaking in. And another big part of YAC is it's important to remember that you're not the one, well, you are in charge, but it's not for you. It's kind of about being able to build youth leadership skills and organizational skills and all those things. And it's important to assess how you drive your meetings. So like at first, if you might need an adult ally to help lead them and like lead the meeting, but then as you go on, like for our Youth Action Council, for example, this year the vice chairs lead the meeting, and we have other executive positions that allow youth to really grow and shape as leaders and build on their interests, which is really important. And so it's important to allow the youth to be heard and to really kind of talk to them about what they want to get out of the meeting and what they want to see, because this is something for them, and what you might expect to get out of it might not be what you get. And in order to kind of get the message out to youth about what you need to be saying, or kind of to get youth to come to Youth Action Council, go to schools or places that kids hang out, because it's really all about word of mouth. Because I know when I joined, it was my friend told me, oh, hey, you should come. And really, like, where you can get most of your kids is telling those other kids to come, like through word of mouth. And it's important to speak our language. So that's really about kind of being on the same level as them, I would say. Be a friend to them and don't speak down to them, and kind of be there to support them and help them along, not exactly lead through them and boss them around. And we kind of move on. Meeting expectations. So youth, like, it's important to think about if youth want to lead the meetings, and if they do lead the meetings, it means that they're truly invested. And as I said before, in the beginning, you might have your adult ally kind of lead the meetings at first, but as your youth council grows and the kids in your Youth Action Council grow as leaders, they may want to step into those roles. And for us, it's kind of morphed into that. And executive positions do allow for leadership and allow youth to be invested and want to participate more. And for us, we have to apply for executive positions, as well as just like the general membership for YAC. And this kind of overlaps about what we want to see from the meetings. And if we apply for executive positions, it shows that we want to be invested and involved in what happens in our community. And this kind of having youth-led meetings allows for voice and influence on the meeting, and have us kind of be more independent as leaders. And through this kind of process, it allows us to see what youth want to see through our meetings. And so in our Youth Action Council, we develop the agendas for the meetings, and we take meeting minutes, and we've really grown as a Youth Action Council through these times. And it gives the chance for you to ask questions and be able to speak in a comfortable space if it's being led by youth as well. So it's important to make sure that your youth have those leadership positions, and also to create guidelines and group dynamics and expectations. So that's things like being present and making sure you take attendance in meeting minutes, and make sure that like you're not on your phones all the time, things like that. And so then youth are able to input those ideas.
Hi there. My name is Kathy, and I'm going to be talking about, I'm the other vice chair on youth council, and I do also take the meeting minutes occasionally. Well, by occasionally, I mean all the time, because I'm kind of a control freak with time. So today I'm going to talk about letting youth learn from their mistakes. So understand your youth strengths, but also let them do things in areas where there's room for mistakes. So when I say this, I mean, like if you know you're planning an event and your youth are really eager to get in there and do the decorations, and they're all telling you what they want, but they don't write any of it down. So, like, for example, we here use a planning book to get write down all the decorations you want. If the youth write down one tablecloth and cups, that's all you're going to bring. So you're going to bring that to the event, and they're going to be like, where's all this stuff? And you're going to be like, well, you didn't write it down. But then make sure that you're like, okay, well, we do have time to fix this and have a backup plan. So making mistakes leads to learning opportunities. So the one time that my youth council, we made that mistake, because I'm speaking from experience, we definitely learned from that mistake, and now we make sure that every time we're planning an event to write down everything we could possibly need for that event. So you need to understand, have the concept of things they need improvement on. So as you as an ally, when you're overwatching the meetings that are happening, make sure that you're paying attention to the things that seem to be sinking in. Like if you're talking about volunteer opportunities or anything like that, and you're seeing that the youth aren't grasping what you're saying or aren't listening, maybe find out what's making them not listen, or if they can't. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. That point split for me. Some youth may. Okay, so this is a good example. So some youth may be more chatty. So a solution is you just stop talking. So that's what we do here. So if kids are talking during a meeting, we'll just not talk, and we'll just kind of wait till everyone understands what they're doing. Because once you understand the mistakes you're making, it's a lot easier to correct it. Make sure you acknowledge and reflect on these mistakes with your youth. So don't just tell them they made a mistake. Tell them where they made the mistake and how they can improve on it. So I feel like this is where a lot of people go wrong with addressing mistakes, is because they'll just tell the person, here's what you did wrong, but the real thing you have to do is tell them how they can improve on it and the specific things they can do to not make that mistake the next time. So then create an environment to your youth know that it's okay they can make mistakes. So you yourself, as an adult ally, have to be vulnerable, I think, and one of the easiest ways to be vulnerable is to make mistakes and to tell your youth when you do make mistakes, because that's going to make them see that they are allowed to make mistakes because you yourself do. So in addition, I just wanted to make an emphasis on the importance of making mistakes. That's how I kind of want to sum up this slide. Without trial and error, you cannot learn personally unless you yourself make that mistake. There's not a lot you're going to do. So there's a difference between someone telling you the mistakes that you could possibly make. So if we were going into a meeting and all of a sudden we go, oh, well, we tell the new kids in a meeting, if you forget this, this, and this, it's not going to be there. And we prepare them for that mistake. They're just learning to do that thing to prevent the mistakes, not learning how to do it properly. So I'm just going to move on to my next slide, which is how to guide the youth in their direction they choose. So when leading your youth, guide them in the direction of the end goal. So you as an adult ally or the youth that take on leadership roles in your group need to know the general direction in which you're trying to achieve, whether that be in your planning or in meeting materials. You need to know what the end product is like defense, like I said, or even volunteer opportunities. If you have your youth sign up for a bunch of volunteer opportunities, know what that's going to entail for them. Be sure that you can explain what it's going to provide them and whatnot. Then you can make a list of things that need to be completed for that meeting, or leave it up to your youth to make that list. And another thing is asking leading questions. So instead of just telling your youth the answer, ask them a question that makes them think, and then they can come to the answer themselves. Make sure you give youth responsibility. So one of the things that really gave me a lot more responsibility here is making the meeting minutes, and I really enjoy that because then I have more control over
and more comprehension of what our meetings are looking like. And as a vice chair, that's pretty important because you are kind of second in command to the adult allies facilitating the group. Make sure the youth are doing the most of the work to get where they want to be. So don't have the youth do the work and then you take it and you like tweak it yourself to make it absolutely perfect. So that's not going to happen because if you have, because the whole point of having a youth council, I think, and how to guide them in the right direction is to just have them not do things properly, but then explain it to them and kind of from there take it to a place where they will be able to, when they leave youth council, to do these things properly and to be able to function in a way where they could do your job, basically, I think is a good thing. So, so an example of leading questions is, what else do you need to bring to our event if people, okay, what else do you want to bring to your event if people wanted more info? That doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to ask a different lead question. What would we need to put out in terms of promotion? So when you're asking them this, they're going to think about what kind of things people are going to be seeing. And one of the things that we struggle with in a rural community is the promotion. So a lot of our focus, I guess, would be there for any events and like the direction you want them to go in. So you have to have a concept of the areas you struggle in. And so when planning events, make sure youth and executive positions that have agreed to the extra responsibility get it, because some youth might not be ready to have all that responsibility or might not be ready to participate as fully in meetings or events. So make sure that you can have those youth that you know you can go to and be like, I need you to take the lead here, I need you to help guide other youth here, because that's going to be really helpful to you and also empower the youth that you're in essence mentoring. So let the youth know what they want to help in and take control. And so if someone tells you, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm not really good at speaking in front of people, or I don't want to go and tell these people what to do because I don't like being bossy, but they still want that responsibility role, it's up to you to know where else you can put them and what else their strengths are. Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Isabel, and we'll talk about building rapport through the learning curve. So you have to find out why our youth are in the room. Like, are they there just to get hours and that's it? Or is it because they love to volunteer and get involved with their community? Or is it because their friends have asked them to try it out and see what's going on? After each event, you can reflect on what went well and what didn't go well. So if you guys had enough supplies, or if the promotion wasn't good, or if it was good. And by reflecting after the event, so you know like what you need to improve on and what strategies you have to use again. And you to allow the chance for the youth to fix mistakes themselves first. So when they made some sort of mistake, you to allow a chance for them to fix it themselves. So maybe cause of that mistake would have been they weren't paying attention. So they would put their phone on silent for meetings if it's because of the phone, or you might have to bring out a phone bin. And you have to be a help resource. So you need to let the youth know that you can help them through the learning curve, and you'll do your best so that you can, but they need to do most of the work to get through.
Hello, I am Caitlin. I am the Director of Volunteers, and I'm talking about the importance of nurturing the community and youth voice. So, you want to make sure that the youth understand that you are hearing them, using their ideas, and bringing them into important situations or conversations. Having a response to their ideas is very helpful, or else they feel like you're ignoring you, like you need to address it and tell them how to make it better, or that this won't work, or how to make it work. And if they do have a good idea, it's really helpful to incorporate it in, because then they feel like they accomplished something through whatever kind of group you're trying to create, and making sure that you're giving credit either within your youth group or within like community. And keeping in mind that your youth are a big portion of your community. They have a voice, they don't always get to express it because you are so young, but you are the connection. Making sure that when you volunteer with your youth, they understand what they're doing and how they're impacting. So getting the youth to meet the people they're impacting puts face value with the members of the organization. So bring your youth with you when you're presenting, like now, or This teaches them professionalism and are letting you know that they are just important as you are in the community and the community respects them. This also teaches you empathy. You can feel how other participants are like at your event. And getting the community to realize that your youth organization is actually a thing. Like, I've had people ask me whether this is a support group or if it's like just a place that we come to hang out, but no, we actually do things here. Creating a place for others to hear youth voice. So we present in our youth council to actual council once or twice a year. This gives us a chance to have our opinions on youth council's voice to people who actually have influence in our community. And one thing is to understand that we sometimes speak for each other. So my one friend, she is so shy around people she doesn't know, so she might tell me her idea that I can do something about it because she's not comfortable doing it. And making sure you know that there are people out listening to them. You are one, but sometimes you don't want to hear everything. So you need to put up boundaries and tell them what's okay to talk to you and what's something else they need to find somebody else to talk to. Make sure that the youth understand that there are people listening to their input and understanding and considering their ideas. Personal issues, you are a way to make the youth feel comfortable. So you need to understand that parents aren't always the greatest resource. My friend recently came out as bi, and her mom asked her if she could only date boys. Like, you've just got to consider that parents aren't always an option. And having access to other people who can help in the community is also very helpful. So here we've got like these cards that you can take to talk to a counselor, or there's connections through school that allow us to have help if we need it. And even if you don't have a personal connection with these people, you can like try and find ways to allow those conversations to happen.
All right, so there we go. The last piece that we kind of have here that the youth and myself have talked a lot about is the educating yourself piece. So recently, all 4 girls that you've met here and 2 other additional youth council members went to present at the youth symposium put on by Parks and Rec Ontario, which was awesome. It was a really great experience for myself and for them. And we were really focusing on our presentation there was on building and nurturing youth councils, and one piece that I had a lot of people come and chat with us afterwards about was the community connection piece. How do we build it? How do we grow it? You know, we build it, will they come? And the other piece was around the adult allies and the adult advisors. So in terms of educating yourself, just some options for you in terms of research are the High 5 Principles of Healthy Childhood Development. So yes, I do recognize that that is around ages 6 through 12. However, the principles are still very apparent and can work very, very well interchangeably with the youth age group. We also talked a lot about the developmental needs of youth. So those 40 developmental needs based around our 6 C's, what the youth need, why they need them, how that can affect into your program and bringing the youth to you. And as well as our research there is Hart's Ladder of Youth Participation. So this one really hit home with our youth council members over the last year. We've been talking a lot about it and asking them where they feel they sit on Hart's Ladder. And we are finally feeling like we are closer to the top, that things are more youth-led and the youth are the ones taking it on. So earlier in this presentation, we were talking a little bit about your role in setting those meeting expectations. And you need to recognize that as an adult advisor, there are times when you do need to step in. And there are other times when you need to step back. So as we went through our first 5 years of our youth council, there was a lot of give and take. There were times where they were heavily dependent. When we had lower numbers last year, for example, we had 6 youth council members because we had to change our days up. Some things came up. We had to switch our program around a bit. And in that time, losing almost half of our youth council members from the year before because of commitment issues in conflict with the new time slot, that things were not as youth-driven as we would have liked them to be. Now, like I said, we've got 16 members, and they're very, very driven. They want to see things. They want to do them their way. I'm here to support them and be whatever connection they need to the township in regards to rentable space or, you know, purchasing of the item. and those sorts of things. So those are some really great options for you in terms of research. Organizations and agencies to reach out to are the Rural Ontario Institute, Parks and Rec Ontario, Canadian Mental Health Association, depending on what kind of program you're setting up and starting. Although we are Wilmot Youth Action Council, Caitlin did say that she has had people ask her if we are a support group. So we have definitely recognized that there are times when youth are coming in and there are issues on the table, whether it be coming out, LGBTQ+, they're having dark thoughts of suicide, they want to talk to somebody, and we recognize that as well. So the first thing that I say at the beginning of every year is I am not a counselor, I am not a support worker, but I am your friend. And I am here, I'm in this room, so if we need to have a conversation, we need to have a conversation. So reaching out to your local mental health association branch, it's a really great idea to learn about some of the opportunities that they have, as well as the big one that I've had a lot of conversations about in the last little bit with mental health being such a frontier at the moment, is mental health first aid for adults working with youth has been a really great resource for people. So a couple more pieces here around educating yourself is the experience of it. So what trends are you seeing? Where are your youth engaged? Where are they hanging out? What are they doing when they're hanging out there? And knowing what's happening in your community. So there's a number of different ways to do that, but the one that I encourage you to do the most is just to look. Look and ask the questions. Do you notice that there is a lot of youth hanging out at your park or at your arena? Do they hang out at Tim Hortons? Do they have their own space? Finding all of those pieces and looking at them critically to think about what is going to work best in your community. So one piece that we had come up quite a bit in the questions that you guys had submitted upon registration was asking about, you know, how do we involve a specific age group, and what do we do about this? How do you suggest starting your own council? Another question that came up was around, you know, this group of adults and adult allies that are there, and recognize that some sort of youth voice needs to be heard, but they're not sure how to do it. I say it's not a one-size-fits-all. Everything is different. Every community is different. Your youth are different. So you need to find out what is going to work best. Because what's working for us right now in Wilmot may not be working in another community or may not fit exactly in your community. Yes, we can have those conversations, and you feel free to contact myself at any point. I'm happy to help. But I don't have all of the answers. I do have literature and resources, and I have access to youth that I ask a lot of questions to, and I ask them to do a lot of really great things, including webinars like this to help educate people. But we are not up here. We're on the same level as everybody else, and we're all learning together, so we should be helping each other out. So at this point, we're a little bit quicker in our webinar. We had some fast talkers who are over here to my left. So Vance, if you could, are we unmuting the phone lines for questions?
So everyone does have the option, if they are connected through their phone line, if they press *6, they can unmute their phone line and voice their question out loud. Or if you'd like, you can type your question into the chat pod, whichever is easier for you. But I guess before we do ask any questions, why don't we just give everyone a virtual round of applause here. So using your drop-down menu, there is an applause button, and let's just give everyone who presented today just a round of applause to show our appreciation.
Getting a round of applause. Forgive us, this is our first webinar ever, so we're pretty excited about it. They're all giving you a round of applause.
Wow, thank you.
All right, folks, so the question portion is now open, so feel free to ask any additional questions. I do see that there's Barbara is typing, so we'll just wait and see. Oh, she's just saying well done.
Thanks, Barbara. Barbara says well done.
Oh, thank you.
Barbara's a beautiful name. Okay, so we're not seeing a ton of questions coming in, but I'm going to open the file that I gave all of you so I can read some of the questions that you did have in case that sparks interest for anyone. Apologize, I'm now loading something. I can't actually see the screen, so if you're typing, I will look back in one moment. second. Oh, the joys of technology as things load. So one question that I do recall coming up was around the terminology for adult allies, adult advisors, mentors. I apologize as my screen loads here. I'll have the other ones. But I wanted to speak to that specifically in regards to the fact that, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all for everyone. So this idea of the different terminology that we can use really depends on the style, the type of group that you are putting together. So for us, we have a Youth Action Council. For some of the other presentations that we have done, we've talked about youth advisory committees. The reason we went with action is because our members are out in the community doing things. We try our best to run an event per month for the community with either a low fee donation or free. And again, we break it down in terms of what age group we're looking at. Is it families? Is it a specific grade, grades 5 through 8 for some of our dances. We try to have a high school only age group event at least once per year. So those pieces, but that's why we went with action. In terms of advisory, if you are putting together a group that is advising what is happening within their youth center or what is happening for youth programs within the community, but there maybe aren't directly in there, maybe why you've gone with advisory over action. The same idea applies here for the terminology. So we today used adult advisors because that is what the kids know right now. So myself is the main facilitator, the main advisor that we have for Wilmot's Youth Action Council. We also have 3 other adults at the moment that are sitting in on our meetings, 2 of which are youth workers from a partnering agency that offers children and youth programming. So they are directly involved with our youth council. So we have 2 different ones that interchangeably come to meetings every other week. We also have an adult, we'll call him an adult ally. His name is Addie, and he is just a volunteer within our program. And he was a part of the youth council when he was in high school, and he actually worked for the township part-time, which is how he found out about the council. So again, going back to that kind of word of mouth, he knew it was happening. It was something he was interested in. He has now come back as an adult, and he has yet to miss a meeting. He did walk in one night right in the last 2 minutes of our meeting, but he made the effort to come in and show up, which is really important, going back to that building rapport piece, that we know, and by we I mean our youth know that Addie is here as a committed adult. So they know that he is coming in the room, he is somebody that is safe that they can speak with, another resource for them to bounce ideas off of. He comes to the event, he's there. So in terms of just going back to that, some of the other ones were partners, mentors, advocates, connectors. It really depends within your community exactly what that role is. So we have the 4 of us on Youth Council. We actually just had our first meeting last Thursday that Cassie helped facilitate in terms of our adult allies. So we're in the middle of putting a group together that is open to all adults in the community. Right now we're doing 2 nights of specifically for community agencies and organizations coming in and partnering with Youth Council. So creating that 2-way street so we can help them out if they need youth volunteers, they need volunteers, they have questions about programs that they are running or workshops and those sorts of things. They have access to the youth voice. But on the flip side, we have asked them to support us as well.
Okay, Sharon has a really good question.
Okay.
So, Sharon, you asked what type of activities we have the greatest success with in getting youth engagement. Okay, so like I said before, we live in a rural community. So we do not have a lot of attendance at our events. The ones that I say we'd have the most success with are partnered events, the events that we do with other organizations, because ourselves can only do so much promotional-wise, and I think that it's kind of the small town mentality has kind of faded away, so there's not as many people coming out to events, but the people that do really enjoy them, and they tell the people to come. So we gradually get more people, but I think that right now, participation level, I see in children has kind of lowered if it's not like a sport. So definitely if we have more of an active event, kids come out, or like if we have like a free skate, like a sponsored free skate, or if we have roller skating, They come out a lot for that, so we'll help with those. But yeah.
And Sharon, just to touch on that, Isabel, I think, was the only one maybe who wasn't at this event last year. But one way that we measure success with our youth council is not necessarily the number of participants that we have come out. Although that is a big component and most people think that would be our level of success, we base it off of what our members have learned. So did they remember everything? Did they have a plan B if something went wrong? We also measure it based on the smiles on their faces. Are they feeling like they have pulled off a successful event and they are sharing what they have learned? Is it the first time we've had, our grade 9 students out to an event? Our level of success is not always the number of people that are in attendance, so we just wanted to point that out too. Okay, so Barb's question here, as a committee of council, we are obligated to follow certain procedures for meeting notices and minutes. Should staff play the role of secretary or guide the YAC appointed secretary on the preparation? I will tell you this, we are, as a youth council, we are not a committee of council, so ours operates a little bit differently, but I would definitely, and I think Kathy for sure would agree, to have the youth member do it.
There is nothing, I feel like nothing more beneficial than to give them the opportunity to do that. It's a great learning opportunity. If you think it would be beneficial if you wanted to start a youth council to show them the proper procedures of how an actual council committee is that it works, you can do that. But right here we do a very basic meeting agenda and then a meeting minute side. It's a very basic thing that we can maybe pass down to younger people, like once I stopped doing it. Yeah. That makes me sad, but yeah.
The other piece I would say for you there, Barbara, is around if there's very specific, and I'm sure there are specifications in terms of the preparation, is it something that either yourself or that adult advisor can provide a template that the youth are just working off of? So it's still their words, they're still setting up their meeting, but they are getting everything from you. So I hope that answers that question. Michelle, how often does YAC meet? What time do you find works best? How long do the meetings usually last? And what is your attendance like? I'm just going to step away and let them take this.
So, for YAC, we meet every week for 2 hours from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I find, and it's on Monday nights. Yeah. And I usually find, at least for me, that works the best just because it's a nice, throughout my years of high school, it's become something that I really enjoy. And to be able to go, it's something I look forward to, and it's a great start to my week. And I think that's a good time for most people, unless they have prior commitments, which obviously will not be able to come, which is unfortunate. And we, and the fact that it's a 2-hour meeting, especially for some of our other people, we have a break in the middle. It's how long? It's 10.
5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
Depending on the night.
And depending on how chatty or antsy we are. And so I feel that helps a lot. And our attendance is pretty good. We have a fair number of people coming out. We had, I think the only time we had a problem with attendance was a last term where there was big gaps in certain people coming. But I feel that's also, you have to remember that you have to talk to them one-on-one. Because if they're not coming because they have prior commitments, because youth are people, they're busy. Parents like to say, you don't know what it's like to be busy because you're a kid. Well, correction. Most of us have part-time jobs. We're doing this. We go to school. So we are busy. So you have to talk to your youth and understand, and don't just assume that they're going to make it out to every meeting. That's all. Yeah.
Another thing to add, keep in mind the programs in your community. So we can't run programs that run during other programs targeted for the same audience, right?
Correct.
I really hope that makes sense.
So can I elaborate?
Yeah.
So our youth council, so to give you a little bit of a background, last year we switched from Wednesdays to Mondays, and the only option when we couldn't do Wednesdays was Mondays, because Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoons, our youth center or we have another drop-in program at another location, operate for the same age group. So in what Caitlin's trying to say is that we do not directly compete with programming opportunities of the same sort within, for sure in-house, but we try our best within the community as well. So at the end of last year, the current youth members had the opportunity to vote whether or not they were going to stay on Monday nights or move it back to Wednesdays. We also knew, kind of going into that vote, that there were a number of youth groups through our churches and faith-based organizations within the township that operated their youth group meetings on Wednesday nights. So Monday nights were the time slot that was chosen and voted on to stay, which has allowed some additional members to join us as well. Yeah. One piece I do want to add in there is the timing. We are a rural community. Our high school is, it used to be 100% bus students, but now because of the way one of our towns has expanded, anybody that lives in that town, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because it is a long, cold walk in the winter. Otherwise, they're bus students. So those that don't have licenses, so our grades, 9, 10s, and the beginning year of 11, have no way to get here. So we opted for a later time slot in order for parents to get home, have time for dinner, not be super rushed, and get the kids here for 7. I can tell you that a neighboring community here, outside of Wilmot Township, offers a similar youth group, and they operate one day a week right after school. So they're like a 3 to 4 or 3 to 4:30 time slot, but it's only for the residents within that town. So the youth can walk to the facility. That is not an option for us. Our recreation complex is on the corner of Highway 7 and 8. So we don't have that option for the youth to walk either. So you need to, again, look back critically on your community, where youth are going, what they have access to, what does your transportation availability look like in order to make that educated decision around your meeting time. So I hope that answers your question, Michelle. Kelly, how did you go about recruiting your youth for council, as I find it hard to get youth to commit?
Okay.
You guys can start and I'll
okay, half of us here, which is Sarah and I, came because our friends were on it, and it started out as a outside of school hangout. But then you have to really that sounds bad, but you have to really find, that's another aspect of finding why they come, because then you can be okay, well, I know you're here for this, but now get them involved and get them into it. But then also to get them to stay is creating that connection, because youth aren't going to come back if they don't feel welcome, if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel connected to the people, other youth there. So if you have more senior youth in your youth council, make sure that they understand their role, that they need to nurture their relationships with new youth coming in.
Yeah, and just to extend on that, it's really important to listen to your youth, hear what they want to get out of the meeting, because maybe what you think that you want to achieve may not be what your youth want to achieve, and if they're accomplishing the goals that they want to see in their community, they're more likely to stay and be more intrigued and want to be a part of it. And I think as they stay longer, I've been in, this is my 4th year in the Youth Action Council, and it's really allowed me to grow as a leader. And yeah, so just kind of making sure that you're developing them as leaders and allowing them to take charge, and it's not just something that they go to and they get lectured by an adult again. That it's actually their space and they're allowed to do what they want to see, and that may allow them to stay longer and be more involved.
We also have a contract that you sign up for that kind of tells you in writing what you are signing up for, what you expect to do, and what the reward is. So for us, it's hours, other opportunities. Yes. But
leadership.
That's the yes. But then, where was I going with that? Oh, then if it's too much for you, you can either talk to Lacey or you can just hey, I'm not coming anymore.
The other piece for you there, Kelly, about recruiting is when we first started this, and I apologize because the 4 of them were too young to be involved in it at the time, but when we first started our youth council, the very first meeting there were 3 youth, and 2 of the youth that came, they came together, and at the end of the meeting they told me that they had an escape plan if they didn't want to stay or they didn't like what I had to say, which kind of made me laugh. But in that moment, I realized that there was something that I had said that sparked their interest, the program had sparked their interest, and we continued to build off of it from there. After our first year, I had, and it's a friend of Sarah and Cassie's, Jackie Bender. Those of you that have heard her speak, she gets pretty fired up about this topic. But she was a grade 7 student the first year youth council ran, and our youth council, as I stated before, is 14 through 19. So she was actually 11 at the time, and she was not a happy camper that there were no leadership opportunities for her age group. So after a year of Jackie politely demanding that something be done, we created a junior youth council. I don't want to say for her, but it was because of her, for her grade 9 year, or her grade 8 year rather. So that's something that we have continued to offer. So we get them in grade 7 and 8. At the end of the school year, we send flyers out to the grade 6, 7, and 8 students at all of our feeder schools or our elementary schools within the township, and let them know personally that this is happening. So we are able to recruit a little bit younger. The other thing that we do for recruitment is heavily rely on the individuals that are coming through the door. So I challenge every single one of them this year that came through the door in September to bring a friend. We then grew from 10 to 14, 10 to 13 in the first 5-6 weeks. And then after our first event, we ended up with 4 more. I don't think my math is right there, but we've got 16 now. So it's all through that word of mouth and the connection. I wasn't right, was I? No, that's okay.
I can't hear.
But so it's all through the connections that we have with our recruiting. We also have a really great relationship with the schools in our township. So I go into the high school. I actually haven't done it yet this year, but I have sent emails and that sort of thing out. But I usually go into some grade 9 classes and then our student activity council classes and have that conversation. So they have a face-to-face and they know what it's about. They have a chance to ask those questions. So if they want to explore whether the option is good for them or not. Last year I actually had a couple of youth come with me into the class, so it was peers of theirs to have that connection. So hopefully that is helpful. Before we answer the next question, Cassie has something she would like to show
no,
you.
it's for Michelle.
Oh.
Hi there, Michelle. Okay, so you asked what kind of topics do we cover during meetings, and since I do the meeting minutes, I don't know if you can see this, but this is
You
what.
can put it closer.
Okay, so, okay. I don't know if you can see that, but like, I'll tell you the information. So this is like the format that I chose personally because I felt like it'd be easiest to teach the youth how to do it. You do an agenda on one side, the meeting minutes on the other, and the meeting minutes are blank on the copy that they get for the meeting because they can put their own personal notes in there. And then they come in the next day, there's a completed, typed out meeting minutes for them. And so we do, to keep it kind of more professional, we do have the motion agreements to pass last meeting's minutes. I think that's the most professional thing about this. But the kind of topics that we have, okay, so tonight, specifically, we're going over expectation rules, phone bin, meeting layout, and group guidelines because we're having a talking issue. But it's fine. We're going to get through it because we just have really friendly friends. Okay, so then we go to the volunteering opportunities, and then we have like any upcoming events. We'll have the time, the date, what the event's about, where it's going to be held, what time you as the youth need to be there to set up, and then we have the upcoming event that we need the information for, and then we do reminders at the end. So we have like our ally meetings or parent council meetings, and then at the end we do next meeting, and then we say the date, and then we put the present members on it. So basically the topics we're talking about: meetings, volunteer opportunities, and then reminders, which is anything that other people in the council are doing with the council. So like if, for example, Sarah and I are going to a parent council meeting, 2 of them, so that's on there, or like adult allies, which again Sarah and I are on there. But yeah, so that's basically what's on them. I could also always get Lacey to like put, yeah, we can send an example out if you would like. They're not that fancy, but yeah. Okay, thank you.
So the other piece then for Michelle, so what are some recent events that we've done? The last event that we did was at the end of October, and we actually did a relaunch of our youth center, which is the space that we're standing in. Oh,
I am
sorry.
so sorry.
Okay. So we opened it up. It was also kind of the kickoff event to the youth workers starting and this room being open more during the week. And it was a Friday night and a Saturday afternoon thing. So we did it in the time slot of the drop-in program, allowed for kids to come in, pick up their new registration form. So it is a free program, and yes, it is drop-in. But we were recognizing that there was a major gap in terms of contact information that we were getting from youth. 9 times out of 10, we would get 519 for their phone number, which isn't helpful if something was to happen to them when they're in with us in our space. So that was something to keep in mind, and that's what we kind of based it around. Our next event coming up is our coffee house in November. But do you guys want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so I kind of helped. Okay, no. Okay, so I kind of helped the youth plan that because we were in the middle of preparing for our pro presentation that we did. So the kind of general idea is to have people they can sign up prior by messaging or emailing us, and then you can sign up at the door, and we're just gonna have a little stage, and they can sing, dance, do a comedy routine or whatever, and then we're gonna have drinks and things to eat. It's free admission, yeah, and it's just gonna be, I don't know, it's gonna be a good time because I feel like we had a coffee house one a year ago, 2 years ago, and it was a fun time. The people who do come out are kind of shy, so if you get some of your youth to input set acts to kind of set the tone, that's good too, because I don't know, yeah. Yeah, Barb, we'll get you an example. Don't you worry, I got it. Big meeting minutes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, a couple other events and volunteer opportunities that we have coming up. Our Junior Youth Council is planning our December event, which does not currently have a name, but it is a kind of after skating. There's a public skate happening that day. So we are doing activities that kids can come up and have a hot chocolate. We've got some prizes. We've got a cookie decorating station, card making station. Sorry, this is the first time some of these youth, actually all of these youth are probably hearing about it. Caitlin's younger sister sits on our Junior Youth Council, so she's our exception. But typically the Junior Youth runs 3 events through the year, December, March, and 1 in May during Youth Week. So it's going to be a really neat opportunity for our junior youth. There's 3 of them, all grade 8 students. And they kind of, in terms of our recruitment, we kind of get them geared up and at a smaller scale for what our Youth Action Council is. But it also alleviates some of the pressures off our older students as they're getting prepped and ready to head into exams come January.
Oh my goodness.
So I just stressed them all out. But yes, so again, in terms of that timeline, there are things outside that we have thought about and we have considered when we are asking them to do what they're doing. So another piece that we do in terms of, not so much of, well, they are the mini events. We do wellness nights once a month on the first Monday of each month. So we partner quite a bit for these and have individuals come in and either do a presentation or a workshop. So last week, I guess, was our first one. And it was a cooking class. So we made tacos and stir fry. So the kids were really excited about that, and it was, again, building on some of those leadership skills. So we've done that. We talked about cooking. We have another one where we're going to talk about healthy eating and how it relates to our bodies. We're going to talk about, we have one wellness night coming up for LGBTQ+ awareness that kids are really excited about. We're going to be partnering, so we sent a couple of emails to some local agencies within the region of Waterloo to come out and who they do free speaking. So that's really great. But that's just kind of another component of our youth council.
Alrighty, folks. Well, looks like all the questions have come through now. But if anyone does have any last-minute questions, please feel free to type them in quickly here before we wrap up. But I'll just take this moment to once again thank Lacey and the Youth Action Council here. They did a fantastic job presenting to everyone here. Yeah, if anyone else has any last-minute questions, please feel free to type them in the chat pod.
So sad we can't see them. The people, you know what I mean?
So yes, so Sean, in terms of the male facilitator, there are 4 of us that oversee the youth council. So myself, there is a male and a female youth worker from our partnering agency, and then Addie is also a male volunteer. So this is the first year that we've had more than one male volunteer or male facilitator in the role, so that has been really exciting to have 2 of them here on a consistent basis. And we can definitely let you know how it goes throughout the year with 2 of them here, but it is something that we do recognize that we have lacked in the past, but I unfortunately don't have control over the youth workers that are hired within our partnering agency. So last year we did have a male youth worker that was in our drop-in programs, but he wasn't directly involved with the youth council. This year, looking at that obvious gap, we have done, and they have done the rotation of the female and the male youth worker into our program.
The kids are here.
So we have our youth tonight because we were doing our doing this facilitation right now. They voted and brought it up to have our youth council meeting. So if you can hear the excess noise, that is our other members that we're going to tell to just be quiet right now.
Sorry, gotta shush them real quick. But yeah, no, thank you. This is really great. I feel sad that we can't see other people on the other end, but just thanks for listening. I mean, I know that we've gone down significantly in number. There's 26. I thought I'd get fame from this time. I really appreciate the 26 of you watching.
So I hope that answers your question there, Sean, in terms of the male facilitator. And just do one more typing. Oh, thank you, Barbara.
We're all so enthusiastic about this.
Well, I guess, folks, if the other youth have arrived, that's our cue to leave and let them continue with their fantastic work that they're doing for their community. So on behalf of PRO, I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar here, and thanks again, Lacey and the Youth Action Council.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Angela. Thank you, Barb.